These are the plaintiffs, Mary Ann Szymanski and Sean Osteen. They say the defendant, their landlord, promised them the home they were about to rent would be in move-in condition on the day they were to occupy it. Obviously, it wasn't. They got tired of all the bogus excuses she came up with and then realized they were dealing with crazy people. All they wanted was a clean home and all they got was a headache. They're suing for $975, the return of their rent and security. This is the defendant, Paul Shields. He says the plaintiffs are a little off base, to say the least. They complained the place hadn't been sanitized and were upset over some dead bugs on the deck. Hello, it's Florida, and there are water bugs everywhere. They were even complaining about some leaves outside. Oh, brother. He's accused of not tidying up. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $975 for rent and security.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mary Ann Szymanski?
Szymanski, yes.
Okay. And Sean Osteen?
Osteen.
You are suing Paul and Jacqueline Shields. You're representing both of you, and you have power of attorney. These are your former landlords for $975 in security and rent that you feel should be returned to you. You are counterclaiming against them $975.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me hear it.
Okay. In the beginning of January, me and Sean began looking for a house to rent in Orange Park, Florida. We pretty much saw a sign in the front of the house, called up Paul, set up an appointment to go take a look at the house with him. At the time when we went and looked at the house, Paul had just informed us that the tenant that had lived there previously was a military guy, and he had just vacated the premises, so that's why the house hadn't been cleaned. There was still furniture in it that had been left there from the previous tenant, that it would be taken care of and, cleaned up, but they had just moved out, so that's why it was in the condition it was at the time, okay? So we looked at the house, we loved the house. So I contacted Mr. Shields and I told him that we liked the house, we wanted to go ahead and rent it from him. He wanted us to give him the $900 security deposit at the time, which I told him I wasn't comfortable giving him the whole $900 up front. And I asked him if
Usually you have to give it before you move in, before you walk in.
Yeah, but before we moved in, I was going to go ahead and pay, the balance that we owed to him, including the rent and all that. But because we rented this house about a month and a half prior.
That much earlier.
Yes,
Okay.
it was very early. We were still in a lease. Our lease was not up at our apartment until February 15th. So I told him I would give him $500, which he agreed to. He says, yeah, that'll be fine to hold it, because he wanted to make sure that we were serious and came.
That's fine. And then before your move-in date, which was February 15th.
February 15th.
Then you would give the other remaining $400.
The remaining of the money, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the time, went by about a month and a half. I believe it was February 8th, Mr. Shields had contacted me and told me that his brother's wife was dying and that they needed to leave town right away. So we needed to go over to his house and pick up the keys early, pay him the rest of the money, and pick up the keys because they had to leave town. We agreed to that. We were actually kind of excited that we could get the keys early.
So February 8th, you meet with him.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
does he represent to you that the place has been cleaned up?
He did. He told me that the only thing he did not have a chance to get to was the backyard because it was covered in leaves. So I said to him, I totally understand, because I understood the situation that his wife's brother was dying.
But he told you it had been cleaned.
Everything was done.
This is the turning point of the entire case. Up until now, it's just one person's promise versus another person's expectation. But the moment those tenants open that front door, everything changes. Here's the big legal question. If a landlord promises a home is move-in ready, and it clearly isn't, who should bear the consequences? Let me know what you would have done in this situation.
So you get to the place, and what do you see?
As soon as I opened up the front door is when I immediately began to cry. Nothing had been done. From a month and a half when we rented the house, not one thing.
What hadn't been done that was supposed to have been done?
There was no cleaning done at all. The house was still filthy. I mean, when I say filthy, there was still furniture from the previous tenant left in the bedrooms, which I didn't have time to move furniture out of the house. The bathrooms were horrible. There was urine still on the seats. Literally, I have pictures.
What else was there?
There was still
Go ahead, say it.
pubic hairs on the seats of the toilets. There was soap soap left in the shower that still had hair in it that was never removed.
Okay.
There are smoke detectors that weren't even working and hanging off the walls.
Okay.
We have, I mean, there's just everything. I mean, once you look at the pictures, you'll be able to tell that the house was never cleaned.
Okay.
And then, ma'am, at the time,
Vertical blinds
those
are
are the
missing
blinds,
verticals.
yes, ma'am. Furniture.
Pictures of the furniture. Oh, that's just repulsive.
And at the time, when I called him and I told him the condition of the house.
Did you photograph the pubic hair?
Yes, I did.
There's still the prior tenants, Reynolds Wrap, and
Yeah, I mean, there was still stuff all through the house.
what is this a picture?
A family emergency is something everyone can sympathize with, but legally, sympathy doesn't automatically erase contractual obligations. The judge isn't deciding whether the emergency was real, she's deciding whether the landlord still had reasonable options to fulfill his promise. That's a huge distinction.
Picture of?
That's my pantry. That's all the
disgusting.
dirt. Yeah, it was horrible.
Okay, what's going on?
I didn't tell her it was totally clean and sanitary.
What did you tell her?
I told her I got to clean it up and everything else. No. But I was supposed to go over the next day, but then I ran a family emergency, and I had to go to my brother-in-law's house.
So you had to attend to your family emergency before you had a chance to clean it up?
Yes.
Okay, but then you have time to tell them you need to come over early so I can give you the key and you can give me the rest of the money because I got to be out of town. The premise being you're out of town on the 15th, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, you'd be able to do this on the 14th,
Yes.
Or 15th in the morning, right? Okay. So if it wasn't clean, when did you expect to get it clean? And you don't need to clean it yourself. You just need to arrange for it to be cleaned.
So, is a family emergency, a real one, a good defense for not getting done what you're supposed to?
Yeah, I think so, as long as he fulfills his obligation after.
Eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Really? Y'all buying that?
No, I think he had over a week to do so. I mean, if you have somebody moving in, they have to take time to get their stuff together.
Fair enough, but is a family emergency ever a defense? You in the red hair.
No.
No?
No.
How come? How come? I mean, it's a real family emergency. Get back to me. Why don't you do that? Get back to me. Going inside the courtroom.
I told her you can move into the garage and stuff like that. We'll clean it up before the 14th or the 15th.
Okay.
And I had it cleaned up on the 14th at noon, and I got pictures of it.
Okay. Let me see the pictures that you have of it cleaned up on the 14th at noon. How did you get it cleaned up on the 14th at noon?
We come back on the 12th, caught her in the house.
Caught her in the house. What does that mean?
Well, she was taking video pictures, and the dogs were in the house and everything else.
Okay. Whose dogs? Her dogs?
Her dogs.
Okay. Hold on. Because you decide when you see it like this that what? Do you call him?
I called him within 45 minutes because it took me time to get over to the house. He was at football practice because he plays football for.
Don't keep digressing.
So it
tell
was
me.
just me. I go over to the house immediately. I get him on the phone.
Okay.
And I said, Paul, what's going on? The condition of the house is not what you said it was. And he starts mumbling and well, I thought you were going to take care of it. And I says, well, what would give you that idea? I just handed you $1,500 and I was told that the property.
Notice how the judge keeps coming back to one simple solution. Hire a cleaning service. Sometimes court cases aren't won because someone had a perfect excuse, they're won because someone failed to take a simple, reasonable step that could have prevented the entire dispute. That's exactly where this case starts leaning.
It was going to be cleaned. So then at that point, he told me, okay, fine. I will be over first thing in the morning myself to personally clean the house for you. At that time, I agreed. I said, that sounds great. That's all we really wanted was the house to be cleaned.
Okay, and then what happens?
So then Wednesday, we wake up. I give him till about noon. I call him about noon. I says, hey, Paul, it's Mary Ann. I was wondering, if we can start moving everything over now. He tells me, oh, I didn't get a chance to clean the house. We had to leave town earlier than Friday. There's no way.
I mean, I'm not understanding, Mr. Shields, why don't you just pay somebody to do it?
We offered to go to Molly Maid, charge it to us, get it sanitized.
Tell her to go to Molly Maid and get it all done?
Well, I'm 20 miles down the road.
Oh, you have a phone. I mean.
Yes.
Okay, well, you can be 20 miles down the road and you can, you or your wife can place a phone call and get it done, right? Did he offer to you, listen, call a cleaning service, you can deduct it from the rent?
The way that this went is his wife referred to me as call Molly Maid's little girl and have it taken care of.
She used the phrase little girl?
Yes, and then you don't even want to know some of the phrases she used towards me.
When they call you and complain the house is filthy, you say, I'm going to be there in the morning?
Yes, I was going to be in the
And then you
morning.
couldn't 'cause you had to leave early.
And then he was dying.
Okay.
So we had to leave early.
Okay. And that was the right
Wednesday
decision.
morning.
You know, the
Yeah.
question is then,
Yeah.
shouldn't you
He
then
died-
just send somebody to clean?
He died Thursday afternoon.
And I'm sorry,
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
You can actually feel how emotional this has become. At this point, the lawsuit isn't just about $975 anymore, it's about trust. Once that trust disappears between a landlord and tenant, rebuilding the relationship becomes almost impossible. Do you think you would have stayed or walked away just like they
Sorry about that. I'm sorry about your loss, but why wouldn't you just call Molly Maids and get it done?
Well,
Okay.
we could have done
now,
that.
you don't have a right to move in until the 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
This other stuff was like a freebie.
Yes.
So part of his answer to your complaint is saying, hey, if I can prove I cleaned it up by the 14th, then they're not right to leave and I don't have to return money.
You're right, Your
What's
Honor.
your response to that?
My response to that is within 45 minutes of us being
Let's
in
just see
a,
how pretty it looks now.
within us being in a tenant-landlord
too.
relationship, within 45 minutes, his wife had called me every name in the book.
What did she call? I need to
Told
hear
me
this.
I
I
was
need to
on
know
drugs.
what. Go ahead.
When I called her and I told her the condition of the house,
Right.
she was telling me what's wrong with the house. And I was telling her there's urine on the seats, there's pubic hair. Click, she hangs up the phone on me. I mean, we must have got hung up the phone on 20 times at least. He was very, he was a lot easier to deal with, and that's why
What'd you end up doing? Did you find another place?
we wound up, my apartment that I
Are
was
you happy
living
in it or aren't you?
I love the place I'm in now.
Okay, good, because you're
Here
about to be
comes
crushed
the
when you
most
see how pretty it
important
looks.
part
okay.
of every
Clean.
courtroom case: the judge's legal reasoning. Don't just listen to who wins. Listen to why they win. That's where you'll understand how courts actually analyze evidence instead of emotions.
I would have wound up probably with mental issues if I had been in a 12-month lease with Miss Shields. Like, it was a nightmare.
Listen, all right? I see both of your sides, okay? I understand. How did you make it back by the 14th to clean? Because you figured there'd be a lawsuit over this?
No.
Okay, because your original
Well,
plan, see, here's where the problem lies, is that you originally told me I needed to go ahead and trade keys and everything else because I wouldn't be here for when the original plan was on the 15th.
Well-
and so I know you weren't planning on being back on the 15th. So how did the apartment get so spick and span? Did you hire somebody or did you come back?
I hired somebody, and I got the receipt here. That's
How,
also
you have of theirs, the $500 security deposit and the rent of $475. That's what it was to rent the whole house,
It was
or that's all you had paid.
For- First 2 weeks.
because we were moving in on the 15th. He was going to go ahead and prorate us
Proration.
only
So
for
$475.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're asking of them another $975 on what grounds? That's your counterclaim. And
You
on
get
what grounds?
900 deposit.
Why would anybody owe you a security deposit if they didn't damage the place? Do you understand the purpose of a security deposit?
That's what the lease says.
No, but you, but at the end, when the lease is over and the transaction's over, unless they damage it, you must return it. It is not
Yes,
something
I
you
will.
get to keep. So what world would we be in where I would say to them, by the way, pay him and he gets to keep the $900 in security deposit? I wouldn't, because they didn't damage the place. So I think we're done. On your counterclaim against them, 0. On their claim against you, my only waffling throughout this case, the only thing that had me pondering was the concept that really they don't have a right to move in until the 15th, and you had cleaned the place by the 14th. So in any other circumstances, I would look at you and say your security deposit goes back to you because you didn't damage the place, but your rent doesn't go back to you. But this case is different because by agreement, they could move in early. I think that you did figure maybe they'd just eat whatever other dirt was left in there. Even if, I think you did tell them everything's fine except for the backyard. But even if you didn't, you both acknowledge that she freaks out and says, this is awful and you need to clean it. And you say, all right, all right. You acknowledge that you agreed with the tenant, okay, I will be in there in the morning and I will make sure it's up to your standards. And then you didn't, and that's your breach. It's not her breach. I can't look at her and say, well, you should have waited to see if he'd do what he said he would and kept coming back every day until the 15th when your lease is over instead of making other arrangements to live somewhere. I can't do that. $975 verdict for the plaintiff on the counterclaim 0.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so let's see what the defendant has to say about this verdict, which goes for the plaintiff in this case.
I guess it at least doesn't have any good anymore.
At least doesn't. It does have good. Yes,
Yeah.
it does. And you should have cleaned the place when you said you were going to.
I cleaned it by the 14th, and the 15th was the lease agreement. So,
All right. Just head right around the corner there. All right, so come on in here. You satisfied how this thing finally works out?
Very satisfied.
Yeah.
Yes.
He speaks.
Yes, he does.
Good.
I wasn't asking any questions during the trial,
Go
so
ahead.
I didn't have too much to say.
Well, what did you think about it as it was going on and the outcome?
I'm very happy with the outcome. I just wish it didn't happen the way it did because it stressed us out so much. It was a lot of stress on us.
Yeah, stress. What, seeing all that dirt in there? Or
Oh, we
just
didn't,
having no
we
place
didn't have
to
a place to live
place to
for
live.
2 weeks. We were sleeping in my dad's dining room on a mattress until we found another place. And thank God we had more money in the bank to resecure a new place. So
He plays football where?
he plays for the Jacksonville
Knights in Florida.
All right. Well, good luck. Over to Harvey.
So the plaintiffs had an alternate solution, which is to hire somebody to clean the place and then deduct that from the rent. Fact is, they won anyway. And then we'll do it for this case. The litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom